Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be a fun conversation about Nitro SSDs and Amazon EBS here. And I'm really excited to be joined on the stage by Prarthana and Reena here. So why don't the two of you introduce yourselves first?
Hi, I'm Prarthana Karmakar. I'm a senior manager in AWS. My teams and I, we build storage solutions for AWS customers.
Hi, my name is Reena Gupta, and I am a senior product manager in the storage product management team in the EC2. And I'm responsible for managing the current generation of the products and building the roadmap for the next generation of storage optimized instances, which are really designed for the high performance workloads.
All right. This is going to be a really fun conversation, what I've actually been looking forward to as well all day. And I know that earlier in the day, Anthony Liguori talked briefly about both the EBS and Nitro SSDs. So we had a little bit of a teaser this morning for that conversation. But maybe the first thing we should do, maybe Reena, we can start with telling us why we're talking about and what the definition of our Nitro SSDs are.
Yeah, and that's a great question. Generally speaking, SSDs are actually associated with high performance. And people think of SSD because they offer better concurrent transactions, as well as throughput and the lower latency. Now for Nitro SSD, these are AWS custom designed SSDs, which are again very specifically designed for low latency and high performance workloads to reduce the latency by 60% and the latency variability by 75%. Now,
why does latency matter?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So latency, when you think of some real life applications where, think of ordering, you're standing in a queue ordering for a concert ticket, online shopping experience, ad bidding to decide what to put on your online feed. All of these things matter where they are really fetching the data from the storage and they're analyzing their data. That's where immediate response is required. That's why latency matters. And that's the reason why some of the, the low latency is very critical for real-time workloads like Aerospike databases to meet the stringent SLAs.
So I love the example. First, I never thought we would talk about ticket buying today at all, but I think all of those of you who have children or have tried to purchase tickets, for example, to a Taylor Swift concert, right, know the importance of latency as well, right? And so I think it's a great place. So we've defined SSDs, the importance of latency. Prarthana, perhaps we can talk about what EBS is and how that is an element of storage that's connected to Nitro SSDs.
Yeah. So Amazon Elastic Block Storage, which is EBS, is a very easy to use, very highly available, durable, secure, with a very high performance guarantee block storage that can be connected over the network to an EC2 instance. Now, EBS is not only a block storage, it's an entire system. It's an entire service that provides a lot of these customer requirements that comes in terms of the performance, in terms of the availability, durability, and so on. So we have heard that our customers really need very high performance. Their demanding workloads always require performance to be high. So one of the very newer generation of EBS storage, which we also call EBS volume, so I'll use these terms interchangeably. So it's called IO2 Block Express. It is actually backed by the Nitro architecture. And also the data transport that we have used with that block storage is SRD, which is a scalable, reliable datagram for our data package transfer. And what we have seen with these two combination of the IO2BX volumes with the newer generation of EC2 instances is that the customers are getting exactly what they are asking for. The customers are seeing 90% reduced latency and 4 times of the throughput that they are used to with the older generation of the volumes. So we are very excited about them.
Now, your excitement comes across, number one, but number two, 90% is an incredible number, right? It's a really powerful thing to be able to tell people about that reduction. And the reduction in those tail latencies and the increase in throughput is really important and is visible to customers as you use IO2 Block Express volumes. Excuse me. Maybe we could talk a bit about how large some of those volumes can be in terms of size. I think we talked about this before as well.
So in terms of size, the storage size itself can be up to 64 terabytes. But I want to point out that not all customers who don't require that need to provision that. They just provision what they need. And it actually scales as the customer demand grows or reduces. And we have a newer generation of volume type, which does not depend on the size of the storage to get the performance characteristics that they are looking for. Here I want to point out GP3 volume. But I also want to give you an example of a customer that's Cox Automotive. Actually, they are reimagining the auto purchase experience for somebody like you and me.
Yeah.
At this point, I would like to point our viewers to a very, very interesting talk that Mylan Thompson, she's a VP of AWS Tech, who gave this talk last week on Bloomberg.
Yes.
It's extremely important and very, very interesting here. So she talked about how Cox used a centralized data strategy to build ML and AI models. And all of the centralized data that they have is built on top of Amazon S3. And the customer here, Cox, actually have achieved the performance guarantees that they need for doing that kind of analysis that they need to reimagine their purchasing experience for the customers. Now, Cox is also a customer of EC2 and EBS. They have actually migrated their database, the Oracle database, from their in-prem to the cloud.
Yeah.
And with IO2BX, I talked about the IO2BX and a newer generation of EC2 instances for about 500 terabyte of data. They have driven their performance. The performance improved by 50%, and they drive 210,000 IOPS, up to 210,000 IOPS, and their latency have also dropped to sub-millisecond latency. It's extremely impressive.
Yeah, and I think, one, I love to start off with a customer example, so this is a great way to get started here as well. I, too, watched the video from Milan before. I think it's a great one. But the other thing is the amount of data that they've consumed, the reduction that they have had here in the latency is really important for their customer experience, for the delivering the experience for all three of us, so anybody out there as well who's maybe used this technology as well. So yeah, it's a great way to get started here. So maybe what makes Nitro SSDs unique, and what is the AWS IP here, Reena?
Absolutely, and as I said earlier, Nitro SSDs are custom built by AWS, and this is based on the numbers of years of experience AWS has spent in terms of understanding how the workloads perform at the cloud scale level. We have understood the pain points of customers, talking about the latency, the performance consistency, and reliability. And that's how they built to allow all these IO-intensive workloads to really perform at the level that customer needs and address all of their challenges. And there is a very specific thing that we have incorporated into our SSDs is a power fail-safe journal-based database that really is part of our custom flash translation layer that is actually the heart of all the things that we are trying to do with the Nitro SSDs. And by building the whole stack ourselves and integrating it into the Nitro system, we are able to achieve the latency that we have been talking about, the 60% reduction in latency and 75% reduction in the latency variability. And the other key thing is we don't just focus on doing the benchmarking for the performance benchmarking. Rather, we focus on the real life workload examples, and we really enable those applications to perform at that level.
Yeah, those are. So I think that one of the great things that you're talking about here with some of this is some of the behind the scenes that's really important for SSDs, for folks that are out there. I think all of the work that we have done behind the scenes to both reduce latency, but things like the flash translation layer that you mentioned and everything. Yep. It's just really kind of, it shows how important that is behind the scenes, and that kind of also ties back into some of the work that Anthony talked about, why we decided to do SSDs as well today. So We talked about an example earlier for a customer using EC2 and EBS. So maybe, do we have a customer example that we can talk about here for Nitro SSD-based instances, Rena, and some of the benefits that they may have observed?
Absolutely, and the Nitro SSDs, the way they are providing the latency benefits, I mean, it's all about latency we've been talking about. And definitely our customers have seen about 2.7x higher performance, throughput, and the lower latencies per terabyte basis with using the Nitro SSD-based instances. And that too is for a sustained load of the throughput for a given latency. That's how we are measuring the latency these days. And there are various examples that I can bring up. One key example is Databricks Photon. They achieved 5.3x improvement in their latency. Aerospike itself, which are a real-time database, they have seen the 70% reduction, increase in the throughput, read throughput, as well as reduction in the latency. The other key examples, as you see here as well, the Splunk, which is one of our key customers as well, they have observed up to 50% decrease in their search time, runtime with IM4GN and IS4GN kind of instances. And of course, we have other new instances that have come up where Sprinkler has also seen with i4G, they have seen up to 27% of the throughput improvement with their compute and storage-bound workloads. So there are various different examples, but these are the key examples I would like to bring up.
Yeah, and I think that people think of storage and sometimes even EBS as someplace that takes a little bit while to do development or change things. But I do want to kind of just hit on the fact that both Rena and I have been involved in the i4G launch that happened only weeks ago, right, Rena?
Absolutely.
And, so customers, we've talked today about Graviton, we talked about the other instances. So i4G is a perfect example of using our SSD technology and also affording additional cost. And for customers that are looking for an excellent Graviton-based option, the i4G instances are a really good choice as well to get started here.
Absolutely, and we are very excited about this new product that has recently come out. And i4G is Graviton 2-based storage optimized instance. And this is, ideally, if you look at it, the spec-wise, it's exactly comparable to our Intel-based instance that was previously launched about a year ago. That was called i4i. And i4G is actually providing 15% better compute performance over the i4i, and plus it's Graviton-based, so you get 10% price performance improvement there as well. So you get
win-win,
the best.
right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So, okay, so we talked a little bit about the SSD. We have a customer example on both our EBS and SSD side. So maybe we could talk a little bit about some of the options for choosing SSDs, and what are the options customers have, Rena?
Yep. So essentially, with the block storage choices, EC2 offers a couple of choices there. So we have either local attached storage instances, or we have the network attached EBS, right? And within the local attached storage instances, you have two options. One is the storage optimized instances where all the I-family instances come into play, and those are all Nitro SSD based. The other one is the core instance, the CMRD instances. Those also have OEM SSD-based local attached storage. And then there is network attached storage as EBS. And these are all SSD-based, and everything is performing at the high performance, throughput and latency levels, yeah.
Absolutely. So there's quite a few choices here. If there is anything, maybe the distinction between what is, let me think, one difference that we could name perhaps between the SSDs or Nitro SSDs and the EBS.
It would be the persistence of data. So like Rena was mentioning, the local instance storage, that is the local storage with your EC2 instance, does not persist the data when the instance hibernates, or it stops or terminates, even though it does persist the data when there is a power cycle reboot or change in the power cycle. That does not happen, but then customers have the option to take backups of their data into the persistent storage and across AZs, so that they can recover from failures and for durability purposes also. In general, AWS recommends that you always take backups of your data storage and also have multiple copies for exactly the failure scenarios that we talked about. On the other hand, for EBS, we provide the durability guarantee and persistence of data by default. and you can take, it is replicated in the same AZ. By default, we have the mechanism to replicate it in the same AZ. Now for cross AZ, there is a separately priced product which we call the EBS snapshots, which helps you take a copy of your data and copy it across AZs for better durability and for better recovery in case of failure scenarios.
Pratna, that's a key thing, the persistence and
exactly.
Durability for customers. I mean, that's a huge concern. And for anybody who was wondering what an AZ is, we call those are availability zones.
Yeah.
And we have those spread throughout the entire globe. And as Pratna mentioned, we really highly recommend having the ability to move between the AZs for both backup purposes and persistence in case anything is happening in your own network as well. So how do we differ in pricing structure here, Reena?
That's a great question, Art. So essentially, if you look at the pricing structure for local attached storage instances, which is most of the compute instances fall into that pricing model, where we offer 4 different kind of pricing models: the on-demand, the reserve instance pricing, we have savings plans, and the spot pricing. And in that, the way these instances are sold, these are by the dollar per hour kind of a unit cost, and these are by the compute unit cost, basically. So sold by the NIs, the vCPUs that you look at, the size of the instance, right? And on the other hand, so in those cases, the customers will be buying a specific instance size with a specific fixed amount of storage coming with it.
Right.
And that's where they get the amount of performance that's actually designed for that size of instance. They'll get the entire performance there. Whereas on the other hand, with EBS, the pricing model is a little different. It goes by the dollar per gigabyte per month kind of a unit size. And that's where, and it offers all those, there are different tiers of performance, and the pricing varies from different tiers. And the way customer would buy that is how much they need as the capacity, and then how much performance they want to add on top of that. So they will pay as they want to go, so as much they want to use, and that's how they will pay. So versus in local attached storage compute instances, they'll be buying fixed amount of capacity right away. So that's a key difference that customers should understand. But ideally, for them, it's better to go to our EC2 pricing calculator. They can feed in all the attributes, and they can feed themselves.
That's a great way to go, is to take a look at the calculator, right? Because I think, things differ from different customers. And I think we talked about offline, the 3 of us, about how, every customers have guardrails about what is really important.
Yeah,
and so
exactly.
people always, I'm sure there's someone out there providing feedback in the chat right now saying, well, I'd like some more specifics about it. And this is where my response is kind of work with us and talk to us about what your needs are and what's important to you, because it's really specific as to what your guardrails are, as to how, and then we can help you define exactly which of these models is best for you. So, okay, we talked a little bit about the pricing here as we go through that. Maybe we can talk about, Reena, a little bit more about when Nitro SSDs are a good fit and how to make that the right choice. We have a brief slide here that we're not gonna talk through this entire thing, but the objective is to give you some ideas about how you could potentially select between the two, to give a little clarity here.
Right. And essentially the slide is in fact showing how do the 2 different types of storage choices compare to each other. But essentially, the Nitro SSD-based local instance stores, there is a workload difference where you see the workloads which are real-time workloads, real-time databases, real-time analytics, and the search indexing kind of workloads, or the virtualization. All these workloads really where they require latencies, and that's a key factor to really decide what type of option they should go for. And they can go to where they have a real-time kind of a response, less than 250 microsecond sort of latencies, and they need millions of IOPS, like 3.2 million IOPS that was showing up on the table earlier, and about 300, actually more than that, multiple thousands of the 22 gigabyte per second of throughput. So that's a key factor to really see the difference. How do they choose local instance versus EBS store?
Yeah, so latency and throughput are key elements in that decision making.
And in addition to that, the other things that people also consider, the different other attributes, where they need to understand, okay, once I decided my workload, and here are the different steps for them to really simplify the whole process. What kind of workloads you're bringing in, and from the workloads, what type of IOPS throughput and latency requirement you have. Next thing, you'll ask yourself, do you need data persistence? Do you need any data durability features? And that, again, helps you decide which option to choose from. Then the next thing is you will say, okay, now I need to size it. How much capacity do you need? And there you go. Right after that, you can put everything together into the pricing calculator, and you can size your solution and get the pricing estimate right there.
Right, and then, I mean, it's important for customers to look at what is that total cost of ownership, or the TCO, that's factored in here.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I think that's a great way, Reena, to simplify the decision-making process here. So I have the same question as well to Pratana. How do we talk about when people can use EBS?
Yeah. So like I talked about before, there are different types of volumes, EBS volumes, that are available for our customers. And essentially how the customers use the EBS storage completely depends on their workloads. Just like Reena mentioned, what kind of capacity you need, what performance characteristics is required for your workloads, all of this factors in your choice of volume type. Now, we have seen customers use mission-critical databases, data warehouses, Hadoop, streaming workloads, all such things. But today I want to also talk about how customers in our financial services industries use the EBS storage. Actually, we have seen that for one of our customers, they required very high intensive throughput extensive workloads for their tick-by-tick quotes and trades, for time series data analysis, for the market prediction and such.
Yeah.
And we have actually, just so that we can provide the right amount of storage with the right performance characteristics, we have audited one such database with a Stack M3 audit tool that we have. And we have found that the performance that we can offer with IO2 block express storage coupled with EC2 X2 IEDN 32XL size instance is comparable to the SAN attached array. Your NAS or your traditional, commercial grade file systems, the performance characteristics are really what the customers look for in this kind of scenarios, and that is exactly what this combination is offering.
Yeah, so I imagine that that by using this combination, the customers can take advantage of some of the performance that we offer, along with the cost savings in the cloud that are able to be delivered here.
Exactly.
So, is there a way to get the best of both worlds, the Nitro performance or the persistent storage, along with that data protection and management features?
Of
Reena?
course, you want to kill two birds with one stone, right?
I am.
Absolutely, why not, right? So, by the way, Nitro SSDs are common for both local attached instance stores with storage optimized instances, as well as for EBS IO2 Block Express. So that's actually, if you look at it, IO2 Block Express is giving you best of the both worlds, right? Now, what you do and how you choose them, I already went through the process of how you select what your attributes are, and based on that, you make the right decision for yourself, right? And then AWS EC2 pricing calculator is there to help you out to get your whole TCO calculation done. And you can see the IO2 Block Express volumes are supported with limited amount of EC2 instances. It's not widely available, so you have to make the right choice for what you really need. So you feed in the right information, get the right attributes calculated, and there you go. Then you can calculate what really you want to go for.
All right, so simple way here to wrap up. I just want to thank both of you for joining me today. This has been a lot of fun, at least for me, to talk about it. And I hope everyone learned a little bit more about storage, both our EBS and our Nitro SSDs here, and how both of them kind of really work together. And it was a pleasure to have both of you here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah.